Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Friday. My name is Isaiah Austin. I am the admin of the Bitcoin Conference X handle. We're so happy to have you join us today. We're 31 days out, exactly a month from Bitcoin 2026, and we have reached the conclusion of Maxi Madness. So today, there's a lot of stuff to celebrate. I'm here with Dennis from BMag. Dennis, how are you doing today?
Wow, I'm really good. This is this is very exciting. Frantically sending messages to a couple other people I would love to see in this, but glad to see Rod and Richard and the Bugle guys here.
Yeah, it's been a great tournament this year, probably the best ever. And shout out to the dog army. I see some of them out in the crowd right now because they showed up big time for Casey and Erin, and they made it possible for them to win. You can't go very far in Maxi Madness without the fans, without your followers, without the people who made you the Maxi influencer that you are. So shout out to those guys. Shout out to everybody who participated this year.
Yeah, honestly, a lot of shining moments and really, really. I mean, look, to go far, we can talk. I know this is gonna get into the history of Maxi Madness and just like everything that goes on year to year here. But to go far, you need a cult, or you need actual followers, or you need bots. And really, we could dive into the intersection of those. Is there a difference in some of those cases? Yeah, very, very interesting dynamics this year. Maybe less botting than previous years, but we can chat about that. Or is that taboo? I don't know if that's taboo.
Well, the ballot it's a secret ballot. So the idea that bots are voting in Maxi Madness is pure speculation. There's a PodConf tried to prove this last year, but they were unable to get very far because Elon keeps the API everything secret. Richard, if you want to elaborate here.
Yeah, good to be on here. I've been trying to differentiate the difference between a pleb and a bot. This is like one of the journalistic missions I've been on, and I don't think there is a clear difference because they both operate the same way, right? Like the pleb gets their programming, their prompting from an influencer, and their behavior is dependent on said influencer. So many plebs will, they'll go listen to their favorite podcaster. It informs them how to behave, whereas a bot gets their programming, from an individual just, via computer code. So I think they're very, very similar. And
Well, if we've learned anything from Brad Mills' very public journey with his Claude bot, both plebs and Claude bots are very, very hard to train. They're very non-compliant, very ungovernable. They kind of just go and go rogue.
yeah, so the pleb is actually probably more programmatically likely to follow directions than a bot at this point. Um, But yeah, I mean, these types of conversations oftentimes are used to try and discredit our democracy, and I don't always think are fair. That the winners have put the work in; they deserve it. They've organized their voting base, however it might be, and this year was unique in the sense that a podcast won the whole tournament. I would say, you had the co-hosts facing off against each other in the finals. So it wasn't as clear as there being a winner and a loser. I feel like a podcast won for the first time in Maxi Madness history, and that was exciting.
Uh, Now I do see Erin in the audience here, if because she needs to be her own voice in this case. But yeah, the Hell Money podcast I mean, it is a fantastic podcast. I recommend it. Obviously, Casey and being in the finals against there is quite silly. Yeah, has Walker ever gone up against his own?
R.I.P. Denham. Did we lose Denham or did I lose everyone?
I can hear
Yeah, we
you.
lost Denim. Yeah.
Well, R.I.P. Denham. I can take it. I can take the Hell Money podcast praise from here. I could tell he was starting to route it to praise someone else or to talk about someone else, which I just think is wildly inappropriate in a time like this when Hell Money podcast has clearly
Clay's the
shown.
champion.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Walker was out, I think, in round 1 or something. So, really not the time to be talking about lesser Bitcoin podcasts. But yeah, I actually kind of wanted to say something about the bot thread. Jesus, this is probably going to be a totally different, like there's going to be no Venn diagram intersection in a reference I'm about to make, but over the last week there has been a uproar about Chapel Roan, who her security guard apparently told a child that came up to get her autograph like to back off, basically. Like the security guard basically like squared up against the child cried, and then it turned out that the child had famous parents who then went and posted about how Chapel Roan had done this and what an evil menace Chapel Roan was for it. And this was kind of this whole big moment that's happened over the last week. And just today, Chapel Roan, I mean, it's presumed that it's Chapel Roan's team because someone had to have paid this research group. But basically, this research group came out with this report that says, about 20 to 30% of all of the discourse surrounding this Chapel Roan stuff were bots that were activated against Chapel Roan. And so this report was basically trying to reframe the narrative as, oh, it's just bots that have been saying this against Chapel Roan. It's not genuine engagement that is actually angry at her for this situation. And I just thought that was interesting to see because that same research group did the same thing for Taylor Swift during her Justin Baldoni, It Ends With Us, Colleen Hoover situation with Blake Lively. And so we're actually starting to see like counter narratives around bots, which I think we also saw in Maxi Madness, right? Where it's like, I mean, look at the engagement that Casey and I got on every single round of Maxi Madness. Like, regardless of if anyone ever botted anything, we dominated. Like, we dominated every single time that we were on. And yet, the best that the other side can do is say, well, it wasn't real. It must have been bots. And so I think we're just going to see this more and more. Like the fact that you see that at the level of Chapel Roan or Taylor Swift and at equivalent competitions of equal importance like Maxi Madness. Like, I just think we're getting to a point where it's like people can just write off anything as saying it's AI, it's not real, it's bots. And so, yeah, I just think we're like getting further and further into a situation where like people can just kind of create reality around whatever they want it to be.
Boy, I didn't know I was gonna rage bait you just this soon in the call by bringing up bots, Erin. Erin, speak about speak about being runner up to Casey. Does this create any uncomfortable dynamics with the two of you? We're probably gonna have a subscriber podcast here soon, yeah, or Spaces. That this week.
Yeah, we actually have an episode dropping right at the end of this space. Like the Hell Money episode about the ordinals BIP rejection will go up at like noon, like in 45 minutes from now. So you will get to see us in like maximum sadness. This was pre Maxi Madness, so like morale was extremely low on that episode. Um but yeah, I'm used, like Casey has like more than 10 times the amount of followers that I have. So it's like what do I think is going to happen? And then also, like when you activate the ordinals degens, like Casey is the more name recognizable name. So I think the thing is, like, I know that the real ones voted for me, and like Casey might have even voted for me, to be honest. Like, I feel like I know that I'm the heart and soul of the movement. I know that anyone who's really in it knows that as well. So it's just part of the
Yeah,
situation.
and
I'm
did
used to it.
Casey use Chinese sorcery to activate certain types of degens? It seems like he had an acute awareness of various types of Chinese memery. He is now here. He can speak for himself. I guess these are like, again, false accusations, perhaps.
I just want to say that this is a huge victory for the downtrodden simps. We won't let the foids walk all over us. This is the real message. The incels are going to rise up. The trickerous astrology foids don't have power over us anymore. Okay, we've discovered Chinese numerology, which gives us our own power. So I think this is a great victory and a great equalization of the sexes.
I disagree. I think you winning Casey was a major loss for the Sims. We were all looking forward to Witters posting nudes.
See, that's the first order effect, but the second order effect is the Sims need to break free of their chains. Okay, they can't be shackled, just praying out here, begging for a glimpse of the titties. You know what I mean? They've got to have more self-respect. They got to be saving their money on OnlyFans. They've got to be stacking sats. So I think that's the real message.
It's important never to glaze the simps. If you glaze the simps, they just get out of control.
Casey, I don't know if embracing your incel identity is really going to help with your overall mission of trying to get a girlfriend.
Yeah, probably not.
I feel like you were on a better path. I feel like every time we put ourselves in front of a new audience, it's an opportunity for you to like meet a woman. And like, you've really turned off everyone. All of the like 2 women that
Anyways,
are in the
what I really
Maxi
meant to
Madness
say
recap.
is that I'm a dedicated feminist, and I actually endorsed Erin to win. She should have won. She was really the power of the campaign, and it was only due to structural misogyny that she lost. So yeah, just wanted to put that out there.
I would like to see a prediction market on who gets a girlfriend first, Casey or Shinobi.
Well, Casey is the Maxi Madness champion, so that is going to be a huge advantage to him. Shinobi, let's face it, there's a lot of obstacles in the way for Shinobi to find a girlfriend. Winning Maxi Madness would have helped, but I still think there would have been a lot of roadblocks there.
Now, clearly, this is going to be an unhinged, no direction type of conversation, but I do want to kick it to Tommy, who is here from the BMAG handle, who awarded the winner with a very special present. Would love for him to hop on and explain himself and perhaps ceremonially betroth this to Casey.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I'm a little busy ripping packs of Pokemon cards right now, but I'll try to, do this too. Yeah, I got the call from Rod Palmer to make the trophy for this year's Maxi Madness, and I did it in the wee hours of the morning last night. And I am very proud to present a hand-drawn slop, nothing AI, just pen on paper, Pepe for Casey as the trophy, and it was really handsomely paid for by the Bugle. So thank you.
This is incredible. I wasn't expecting this at all. I think some original Tommy artwork is absolutely a fitting championship gift or whatever. I will definitely treasure it forever and have it framed and put it up on my wall. No joke.
I can send you the actual paper because it is real. So let's do that. Let's get it framed.
Hell yeah, yeah. I will send you my address. Absolutely.
Yeah, we should probably hang it somewhere that you can see it in the like Hell Money episodes. So we got to figure out good placement for that. Because just to remind you, it is really a Hell Money award. I'm even featured in the art itself. So I'm sure Dennis made sure that happened, honestly, because Dennis knows what happens. I'm like a very sore loser, so I'm
No,
sure Dennis.
I promise
Yeah,
you,
hey,
Dennis had
Erin,
nothing to do with
speaking
this one.
Erin, speaking of sore losing, can you speak a little bit about your your ranking and your first round matchup with Ross Ulbricht. Because I was reviewing Rob Hamilton's winning bracket, and I noticed that Frank Corva was up against Lynn Alden in the first bracket. Again, a very tough draw. What did you take that personally? Would you like to speak about that? Yeah, if I were to do a one shining moment, I would say that first round victory was a big deal, and then maybe we can also talk about the Chris Cedar matchup, which also had some shining moments.
Yeah, I was definitely very upset and invigorated by being seated number 15 out of 16 in the hot bracket. Um, I think it's actually, I mean, clearly it was a fair fight for me to go up against Ross because I beat him. So it's not that I was necessarily so angry that I was up against Ross. I think Ross is very good looking. He has really great like bone structure. He kind of consistently mogs. But to see some of the people that were seated above me in the hot bracket, um, yeah, I don't know how that was chosen, but it wouldn't have been the selection I would have gone with. And I actually even think maybe the hot bracket in general, like there were lots of people that could have gone in the hot bracket over some of the other competitors. No shade to my my bracket, but that was kind of I think what activated me initially to get so involved in Maxi Madness was I realized like what a shame it would be if I not only lost to Ross, but like proved that my 15 seeding was accurate. Like that was really what motivated me is I needed to beat Ross. I needed to show that I shouldn't have been seated at number 15. And I think I showed that ultimately because not only did I dominate the hot bracket, but ultimately I dominated PodConf as well, which would have been my other
Yeah,
bracket, I think.
yeah.
So
The you not being in the podcasting one, I know probably also was yeah. But
I mean, I'm not upset about being in the hot bracket. You know what I
no,
mean? Like
yeah,
that's fine.
yeah.
That's fine. But it's nice to be given the opportunity to show that I can dominate both arenas. So ultimately I think the results speak for themselves, but yeah, I also just kind of want to say like this is the first Maxi Madness that Hell Money podcast or Ordinals people have even been on the board. And so I feel like maybe Casey and I would have won 23, 24, 25, and 26. You know what I mean? Like who's to say? So I just think this is the first Maxi Madness that we've been given the opportunity to compete and show what we're worth.
Well, Bugle may have to
Now,
defend themselves here a little bit, but I also think, look, I have stated that I thought Larry should have been in the hot bracket. I mean, he does post a lot of CrossFit stuff, pit photos, and also is that kind of ageist to not have him in the hot bracket? But Bugle can defend themselves because clearly there's been numerous questions of rankings here.
I want to say that Ordinals has had representation before. Udi and Eric have competed in the past and they performed extremely poorly. Uh, I think they're poor representations of the Ordinals ecosystem, though.
Yeah, I wouldn't really we haven't had either of them on Hell Money podcast, for example. Like I feel like putting Udi and Eric in as Ordinals people is kind of just like an ignorant misnomer, no offense. I would say they're more like just like anti-Maxi people that just sort of happened to coalesce around Ordinals at the time because the Maxis were so mad about it. And I guess because they already had an NFT collection that they were trying to do, which my understanding is they were going to do that NFT collection, like the Taproot Wizards, on Ethereum. And then it just happened to align that Ordinals came out. And so they ended up making it an inscriptions collection instead. So yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't put Udi and Eric in with Ordinals people. I just think that's kind of like yeah, it's like I mean, this is so like representative of what I think has been showing in the last week is like the Maxis just have no idea what's happening outside of their bubble. Like everyone who's not in their bubble, they're like, they're a shitcoin or ordinal person and they're all the same. And it's like, no, we have our own ecosystems going on. And some of them might be even bigger and more dominant, as we've seen from me and Casey getting to the top two.
yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to that. And, maybe I wouldn't fade Casey or Erin in any Maxi Madness tournament. However, last year, Teddy Bitcoins, I don't think anybody could have beat Teddy Bitcoins. And if you want some evidence of that, just look at the poll results of the championship last year when Teddy Bitcoins faced Michael Saylor. So now going back to what Erin said about the slot echo chamber and Maxi's not necessarily having a lot of awareness outside of their bubble. Right last year, Maxi Madness preceded Paper Bitcoin Summer. And so the finalists in Maxi Madness last year were two Paper Bitcoin influencers at the very top, right at the very height of the spring entering into the first Paper Bitcoin Summer. Teddy Bitcoins was a big MicroStrategy influencer, I guess you could say. And of course, Michael Saylor was his opponent in the final. And so once Teddy Bitcoins shocked the Maxi Madness fans, completely dominated him. He took out Yellow, he took out Lynn Alden, he took out Adam Back, and then he took out Saylor in the final. And Saylor was engaging. Saylor sent his simps to the polls and still lost to Teddy Bitcoins. And then we had Paper Bitcoin Summer. So I think nobody saw that coming a year ago. And I don't know what's coming this summer. I don't know if it's the summer of hell money, the summer of runes, the summer of the dog army. I don't know. But I know that Maxi Madness typically is like is foreshadowing a very something that's going to be trending big time in the summertime. So just think about that when the summer kicks off and things start to get crazy.
That's a really good point. I wonder what kind of thing Hell Money Podcast could do that would cause like a major bullish rise in the summer and then just like a complete nuclear crash in the fall. Casey and I will have to think about that to see what we can figure out. Yeah, the turbo flag. The turbo flag. That's a great point. Actually, maybe Casey should speak more on the turbo flag.
If anybody has ideas for what the turbo flag should do, definitely let me know. You know what I mean? I'm all ears over here.
There actually was a beautiful moment of unity. Yesterday, we ended up going live on the Hell Money account. In theory, it was like to debate each other, although that wasn't really what actually ended up happening. But Yellow was in the chat on the stream, and Yellow was throwing out ideas for the turbo flag, which I thought was beautiful. So there definitely has been a little bit of unity, I would say, coming from the traditional Maxi side. So yeah, maybe we can workshop with Yellow and see what like a good turbo flag feature would be.
I also see Rob in the audience here. It would be great to get him up here for him to talk about his winning bracket. Because he picked the best bracket. And 'tis the season. But yeah, Casey, again, huge congratulations. Once again, mogging Erin is real rough in a public setting like this. I don't approve of
Don't
that.
say that. She's gonna beat me in private. It's gonna be bad. It's gonna be real bad, bro.
It's true. It's true. Actually, yeah,
I'm not gonna get a single word in edgewise on the next podcast. It's just gonna be
well,
yep.
seating her so low by the bugle, they didn't know that like Erin is not gonna not try, and also doesn't agree with the idea of just like trying to lose. Like she's just not gonna do that. So like was quite the fury that she unleashed through from round to round. And the Chris Cedar round was really entertaining. And obviously Yellow is an absolute legend, and happy he can speak for himself. I see that he's here now, so
What? What do you want, Adam?
Yellow, how many days in a row did you do Don't Stop Believing Spaces? You cultivated a calling DSB was like a for people that weren't there, it was incredible. Like I loved those days more than anything. It was absolutely phenomenal daily humor. And it was almost like a Sisyphus thing where he had to show up every day. So you like kind of wanted Yellow to be free, but also the idea that it kept going. I remember at Bitcoin 2022 in Miami, listening to it, I think the price of Bitcoin was like 46, or maybe it was in the high 40s. It had gone down from 69. But yeah, and then the days just started to go on and on. But that was that he had. I mean, Yellow, you have. I would consider myself one of them, a dedicated following. But Casey and Erin, they also have a following, and they also have Chinese followers that were sleeping sometimes.
How do you get Chinese? Thank you for your kind words. It was 1,123 days consistency, and also, how do I get Chinese followers? I'm really interested about that. Do I have to
Erin,
start tweeting in Chinese or something?
yeah, Erin, how does Yellow get Chinese followers?
You have to be tweeting in Chinese, like in Mandarin specifically. Honestly, Casey is the best. He knows all of the Chinese memes somehow. Like the one that he posted with the beaver, where he face swapped himself onto the beaver. Like that wasn't like he didn't have to like go ask what meme to do. Like he just knew. So Casey's very tapped into to Chinese culture. I would say he has a great appreciation for it, actually.
Yeah, you've just got to be a terminally online basement dwelling nerd. I think that's a good first step.
I just want to jump in for a moment to verify this. At Bitcoin Hong Kong, the Bitcoin Magazine conference in Hong Kong, 2 years ago, Casey like showed up at an event, and the line of people looking to talk with him, like basically wrapped around the whole talking area of people like mobbing him like a celebrity. He's already plugged in, and Aaron and I just kind of sat there and watched him just have like a whole wall of simps just charging Casey. So he's been working on this coalition for years at this point.
I've taken so many selfies, all playing the long game. So many selfies with Chinese fans, all playing the long game to win Maxi Madness. It's all been leading up to this moment.
Yeah, I think that trip that Rob's talking about, where Rob and I were just sitting watching Casey take selfies, I swear to God, Casey took 1,000 selfies over the course of 3 days. It was insane. So if you want to know where those Chinese votes came for, because I did see Adam Back was really loose and just playing fast and loose with the accusations of bots. And the answer is just like Europe went to sleep and Asia woke up. Asia woke up and the Chinese degens were activated and they came and they voted. So I feel like those like 1,500 or however many votes that came in overnight for Europe and America, that was just the Chinese mob coming in and supporting. Those were all the people that Casey took selfies with.
I think Yellow deserves to be flooded with Chinese beaver. I think that he would love that.
Was that a sexual innuendo, Rob?
No, it was about followers.
Okay.
Erin, did you think that the TikTok dance would perform a little bit better in terms of numbers? Like, that was one question I had.
I kind of knew that once we awoke the sleeping dragon of China, that they weren't going to be able to be swayed by such tactics. Like the TikTok dances mostly work for incels in America. It's kind of just like a different audience, I would say. So the Chinese are going to simp for Casey. Like I knew that. So I did know that the fact that we had to activate the Chinese in order to get us into the top two, I figured that that would probably also hurt my chances of winning overall. I think the biggest disappointment was really that Witter's call to action was not heated with more seriousness and with more attention. That did boost me a lot in the polls at the end, but I think my strategy when I was campaigning against Ross Ulbricht and Chris Sedor was that Bitcoin maxis aren't gay, and I think that played out well there. Unfortunately, once you get into the ordinals mob, it seems like many of the ordinals people might be gay.
Well, you do call it the turbo fact. I don't know why you call that.
That's a good point.
We all know that Witter's call to action got Mr. Hoddle's attention.
Yeah, Witters, that was a great attempt. Chris Edor, though, also wore a tube top and looked quite good as well. So my hat's off to him.
But
He did spell
still in the Chris Cedar round though, that's basically Maxi versus Ordinals. You know what I mean? And so like the Ordinals people are going to be loyal to me, even if they might find Chris Cedar to be more attractive to them personally. But I think once you get Ordinals versus Ordinals and it's Casey versus Erin, yeah, that's where the sexuality comes out. And so that actually might be one of the biggest major findings of Maxi Madness is where is the gay split within the kind of greater Bitcoin culture.
Well, I know.
Yeah, there was a lot of accusations of Asian gays too for Casey, but yeah, go ahead, Rod. I think
I was going to say, well, in the Sweet 16 round, one of the toughest matchups that Casey had was against Nifty. She put up a pretty good fight. Like that was almost as close, or maybe it's closer than the Adam Back round. And I think Nifty deserves, some praise and some glaze for her performance. She was pretty much out of commission the next day with a migraine after she left it all on the court, I guess.
She does deserve some glazing because she has a history of cosplay and LARPing, and really to battle like Casey and Erin's background in cosplay. Like she really had to dig in deep. It was, well, I don't know. Is that like you choosing to play somebody on their own game? Like you don't want to run against like Arizona this year. Like that's a bad idea. Like or I don't know who wins in it. Maybe you don't want to play Erin and Casey in a cosplay game.
Yeah,
I would say something there, if I may.
Please, yeah. Sorry, Yellow.
Once again, congrats to the Ordinals guys. Casey for the Maxi Madness being the winner, and to Erin for a good fight. My parents have taught me to extend the hand after the match is done, so I did that. Other than that, I think Ordinals are kind of stupid. It's not my thing, but you do you. I won't judge you. You do yourself, whatever you want. So the Ordinals guys in their game, I guess the new narrative that Yellow was the part without realizing at the first was Laser Eye culture is done, Ordinals culture is in. Now, guys, name on my friends on quotes, and this is gonna be the last Maxi Madness I'll take part. I want to do my thing also, and I have big plans down the line. So that's it. I reject your kind of open-mindedness. I think it's kind of gay, and I'll feel free and okay to my closet absolutism. So cheers.
Yellow is always a gentleman at heart. But Aaron and Casey also kind of think that Ordinals is gay too. So I don't know if they're necessarily. I don't know. I think there's really not that much.
They don't call it the turbo fag for no reason,
Well, heartfelt words from Yellow, always speaking from the heart.
He's one of He's a Maxi Madness legend. He won the inaugural championship. It's doing that many DSB spaces, 3 Maxi Madnesses in a row. It takes a lot. It takes a lot out of you.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, it's hard for me to imagine campaigning like the way that I did this time again. I really lost a week of like any other productive stuff I could have done working on this Maxi Madness campaign. But fortunately, it paid off. I think I do also want to just say to the degens that there's absolutely no way that Casey would have acknowledged or noticed this competition and then decided to do the turbo flag had it not been for my obsession. So, um, I'm not mad at the Degens for not voting for me in the end, but I do feel like, again, anyone who knows that I was the one who was running the campaign and who was bringing in the results that the voters care about. So, it's fine. I'll just do like Hillary Clinton's Secretary of State to Obama thing. This is sort of the way for women, I suppose.
I should dip. It's time to go to the gym. It's time to Spartan like work on my body or whatever after Maxi Madness has challenged my mind. But thanks everybody who voted, and send me your ideas for the turbo flag because God knows I need them.
He really does.
Ron, what are you planning to do with the lifetime supply of soap miner tallow soap that is now coming your way for picking the best or the most accurate bracket for Maxi Madness?
I'm honored. I'm flattered. I'm already a regular soap miner purchaser. They have great fragrances for men and women. My wife's a big fan of the Earl Grey one. I use a lot of the pine tar one and also their redacted one. They're great. It's great soap. I saw Evan Kalupis is also giving me an official Zeus wig and hat, and Craig at the conference has now told me that I need to wear that when I'm on my panel at the conference. So I'll be sure to get my shipping details to get those in the mail. It's funny because I remember right when Maxi Madness was kicking off at the start, I was on a Spaces. I posted my bracket. And I was talking with Erin, and she tutted me properly, saying that how could you think that she wasn't going to go deeper and that she would lose to Ross? And I totally miscalculated. I thought the Bitcoin like culture on Twitter had just a decades long Pavlovian response of supporting Ross whenever something's happening on the internet. And that did not happen. It did not happen at all. And then Erin went on a deep run. I actually found out about this space originally because Chris Sidor said that I needed to come up here and defend his honor. And if he wanted his honor defended, he should have tried a little bit harder and won the bracket. Maybe he could have put in a little bit more effort. Like it was all over once he started posting photos of him in the tube top with Erin. That may or may not have been my idea to start. That may not have been me nudging him, telling him that that's what he should have done. But I also like I had a pretty good run. I got to the Sweet 16. I lost to as Casey calls him, guacamole zucchini, but Giacomo unblocked me on Twitter maybe like 3 months ago, so I'm eternally grateful already. Uh, I'm pretty proud of my run. I think it was a good show by everyone. I see Mars in the audience. I think Mars should have at least had a play-in round. I think the biggest upset of the whole thing was Teddy Bitcoin's fault losing in the play-in round. Like that was the shocking. The whole bracket was just wild. But great performance by everyone. I'm sorry I doubted you, Erin. You crushed it. You persevered and you won all the way to the finals. So you took out the PodConf region and the hot region. Well deserved and well earned.
Thank you. Thank you. I will say I also kind of underestimated myself because in my bracket, I had myself beating Ross, but then losing to Isabella. I thought that people were going to take the hot category like very seriously. So I thought, okay, I'm obviously a shoe-in against a man, but the second that I go up against a woman, it's kind of over for me unless I mean, in Isabella's case, like she's kind of like exactly what a Maxi would want. Like she's like living on an island, like tax haven situation, and talking about like being lonely and wanting people to come visit her who are into Bitcoin. You know what I mean? Like I can't compete with that no matter how many TikTok dances I do. So I really thought Isabella was going to beat Ben. I was shocked when Ben won against Isabella. And then I figured I'd go out. Justine Harper was sort of like that was the first woman that I went against, and I was very scared to go against Justine. Fortunately, I think at that point I had built up enough momentum from the really, really aggressive round with Chris that I was able to kind of like get carried through just on like kind of the hangover from that campaigning strategy from the previous day.
So
Erin, do you think that Isabella fell into that category that maybe is the Adam Back category where they just didn't try and then yeah.
For sure. If she had posted even once, I think she would have beaten Ben, and then she could have probably beaten me too.
So, what has that done to your psyche? Like, how has it changed to have the free market choose you to be hotter than the titans of hotness like Justine and Isabella, Erin?
I mean, Casey remarks almost every single day that I am like the least humble person that he knows. I am consistently like tooting my own horn and celebrating my own accomplishments. So honestly, this is just like par for the course for me. This isn't but I will say like I kind of already knew that I was going to lose to Casey, and so I didn't like put my self-worth into that. Like I know when to kind of like I know how to pick and choose like which things to be competitive in. So I think it's correct for me to win the hot bracket. That doesn't necessarily mean that I'm like visually speaking the hottest of all the competitors. I think it's a combination of campaigning and visual appeal, and I know that I have the social politics intelligence to be able to rally the troops behind me and to create a good social campaign. So I think it's a combination of looks and personality, and I just happen to be the total package.
Well, I think it also has to do with astrology. I would consider astrology having been on the ballot, and the voters decided astrology is hot.
Yeah, I think there's also some people who might fear me as well. And so they may have voted for me just because they think maybe Erin knows if they vote against me, so they don't want to build up that bad karma against me.
You
Do we
know, some.
anticipate
Go
do we
ahead.
anticipate seeing more Bitcoin astrologers now that one Bitcoin astrologer won? Like, is this Rod? Do you think there'll be more than one Bitcoin astrologer in next year's Maxi Madness?
I mean, it's worth exploring, even making that its own region if it becomes trendy enough and popular enough. And this is what I think for the first time we integrated prediction markets, and having astrologers in Maxi Madness mixed with prediction markets, that might be a crazy combination, because if they can predict the future, it completely changes the game theory of Maxi Madness. This year was just the first year that we had it, and predicts told me that the Maxi Madness markets had surpassed more than 1.2 Bitcoin, with almost a full Bitcoin paid to winners.
Rob, how much personally do you take credit for some of that? Yeah, maybe fill people in. I mean, Zaps weren't able to on Nostr, which is awesome. But I heard that prediction markets via Nostr was like really popping off.
Oh, it was incredible to watch. The Noster competition was fierce. There was a lot of excitement. There were a lot of sats spent. A lot of sats spent. We're talking millions of sats. And a 16 seed won the tournament. Rev Hodl, absolutely incredible guy. I saw him in the space here a little bit earlier, but yeah, it was fun to watch. We didn't know if it was going to work. I mean, one of the the problems with Noster historically is that the UX is kind of less than the best, and it worked. It worked, and people are excited about it. People had a ton of
So
fun. But
for those that don't know, can you explain that there was like actually a different competition going on, like a kind of like a separate but equal, but or like apartheid type situation, and then like who was in that? People that are not on Nostr may not know about this at all.
yeah, it's the world of Nostr is completely different than the world of Twitter. They have their own culture. They have their own Uh, so to say influencers and celebrities, it's very like developer focused. In many ways, it's kind of like a Galt's gulch of Bitcoin culture, where it's individuals that don't really want to participate in the mosh pit, and they're just kind of wanting to hang out with people that do things similar to them. But yeah, I mean, I think most of the people looking at the Noster bracket have no idea. Tone Base didn't know anybody in this Maxi Madness bracket, which just kind of goes to show how out of touch he is with
Who is
modern.
Tone Vase? Like, I've never even seen that profile before. You see what I just did there? You see how they just keep they do that over and over again? But that actually is serious. I don't know who Tone Vase is, and I was confused. Is he pro BIP 110 or anti BIP 110? Because I saw BIP 110 people being mad at him. I don't.
He's very anti BIP 110.
Okay, so he's politically homeless.
Yeah, he's like he's a very old school podcaster. I think he's an important one for you to know, and just understanding broader Bitcoin culture. But he is a guy that has obviously been resting on his credentials and is very out of touch. But he organized a conference, has been a long time podcaster, likes to do trading stuff. He's one of the old school, like, this is how you trade Bitcoin people. So Matthew Cratter kind of looked at Tone Base and built off of his model. um
I
but
mean, you say that I should know these people, but I literally have asked Casey things on the podcast, like, who is Mark Andreessen? Is he the guy who's like a VC with an egghead? Like, it's or Gavin Mark, whichever one. Again, like, literally, this is the level. I got into Bitcoin post COVID, so it's 2026. I've been in Bitcoin for over 5 years now, but I think the old heads really just have this like nostalgia for, it's like when grandpa tells you stories from the war, you know what I mean? And you're like, wow, you have PTSD from Vietnam and you are stuck in like a version of reality that no longer exists. I feel like that's kind of what's happened in Bitcoin Maxi realm. And for some reason they can't break out of it, or like there's no wake up call that will present itself to them and make them realize, like, wait, maybe it actually isn't that the newcomers need to educate themselves on how important I am. It's like, maybe you aren't as important anymore and you're not as relevant anymore, and it's okay for a new wave to come in that has their own interests, their own perspective. um Actually, kind of speaking to that point, in terms of a astrology bracket in Maxi Madness, I think you could do an astrology fourth turning bracket, because there's a lot of influencers in Bitcoin world that are doing astrology, but because they're men, they don't say that. They instead say that they believe in the fourth turning, or they say that they believe in the Ray Dalio cycle of empire rise and decline. All of these things are based on astrology. Like, they literally are astrological cycles, but it's not like it wouldn't work for their audience for them to say that, so they instead use these other terms. But I think you could easily fill out a bracket. Like, Lawrence Lepard is a fourth turning guy. um, there's obviously like a couple Bitcoin astrologers you could throw in there. There's a Bitcoin astrology panel happening at the Vegas conference this year, so I think that's the first time we're getting that. So I would say fourth turning astrology, that could be an interesting bracket to put in next year.
Well, unfortunately, Aaron, we're in the first turning now, so that ship's kind of sailed. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting. I think it's helpful to understand history, or else history, you know, tends to repeat itself. This is one of the common things where the plebs don't read history, and then they continue to repeat the same art, kind of old boring arguments that have already happened. Um, so I do think it's helpful to know who Tone Base is, for that reason, because Tone's been having a lot of the arguments for years that many people are rehashing. So you could skip a lot of headaches if you just have a little bit of a historical reference of what's going on. But at the same time, you bring up a very good point, which is that many of these people that have been around for a while, they have just rested on their credentials. They're failing to continue to learn. They don't have enough entropy in their podcast listening. if they even listen to podcasts. Like, I mean, you just look at how stupid everything Mr. Hoddle says all the time. Like, that guy obviously doesn't listen to podcasts. He has no idea what's going on. And it's just it's a shame that people embarrass themselves so regularly on the timeline. Like, I don't know how in 2026 you don't know who Erin and Casey are, you don't know who Hell Money is, and you don't understand the importance of the most important election of our lifetimes.
Yeah, I feel like ignorance is not something that people should be proud of. Like, I'm not necessarily proud of the fact that I don't know who Gavin Andreessen is. It's more that I say it because I think it's funny and it's interesting also to see that I don't know that like there are different perspectives in Bitcoin that exist. And so if I have to like put myself on the chopping block to show my ignorance in order to like not just promote this idea that everyone has all the same cultural references and everyone has all the same perspective, I will do it. And I think that's kind of what Hell Money ends up being. Like the basic premise for Hell Money is that Casey's the expert and I'm the interviewer. It has completely gone off the rails since that initial premise, but that was the initial idea, is that Casey is this expert on Bitcoin and I'm asking him questions that I think the audience would want to know and that I want to know. And so with that, I feel like I think at one point I asked him if smart contracts are executed by lawyers. Like, do you need a lawyer to make a smart contract? Like shit like that. So I try to just kind of like go for it. But I do find it really interesting that a lot of the maxis are sort of flaunting their ignorance in a way that's like there is no educational purpose. Like they're not like, oh, who is Casey Rodomore or Aaron Redwing? What are ordinals? I've never heard of these things. I would really love to know about this. Like they're flaunting their ignorance as if it's a trophy or a prize in and of itself, and they have no interest in educating themselves. So it's like, I don't know, it's kind of interesting to see that sort of meme play out. And so when Tone Vez says that he hasn't heard of Casey, I just kind of don't believe it. Not that I think he should have heard of me, but it's like Casey was everywhere, like for like a year or two. I don't know. I don't buy that. It just feels like he's regurgitating language that he's heard other people say that for some reason he thinks makes him seem cool, and it doesn't.
Oh, I don't think any of us on stage think Tone Base is cool. Uh, yeah, it's productive to play the bit, and I think a lot of the individuals that are around these days, many of them got their education from Peter McCormick, right? And so they think and they talk like Peter did, and like part of what made Peter such a great interview was that he played the bit of being uninformed. But because he's so prominent, like a lot of individuals thought that he was setting the example for how to be, which is coming off as being uninformed. And so they thought it was appropriate, like, okay, the biggest podcaster in the world doesn't know what an XPub is. I don't have to either. So I can go out there. I mean, you look at like Hodl, he's like the perfect example of somebody like this that is unironically being Peter McCormick.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I think that's also like the monetary kind of macro econ guys kind of took over as well, right? It's like they I do think it's very effective to use these kind of analogies like Bitcoin is literally a battery. Bitcoin literally converts energy into currency. Like that speaks to the plebs because it's so simple and it just like scratches your brain. And I think that sort of like it kind of ends up being like an alternative history kind of rhetoric. And by the way, big enjoyer of alternative history. Atlantis was totally real. But like those types of things just like captivate people's minds, and so they don't actually ever have to learn about how Bitcoin works because like they're not even interacting with Bitcoin. They're just like DCAing on Swan. So I feel like yeah, it's like it's the Peter McCormick kind of effect, like that sort of podcaster style of like, I don't know anything, I'm going to interview all of my guests like I don't know anything, and I'll never learn and I'll never come up with new information or my own insights. I'll just keep being a blank slate over and over and over again for these people to put their messages out. But then I think it's also the messages themselves, that like the messages that came out were these like very dumbed down kind of delicious metaphors that make Bitcoin into something that like, it's like not even really getting at what Bitcoin really is. It's kind of just like dumbing it down so that you just like can tell yourself that you're a genius for getting into it first.
The technical definition of what you're describing, it's called pleb slop.
I need to be very careful because I'm actually in Bedford right now, the Bitcoin capital of the world, for Peter McCormick's conference cheat code in the UK. So if I speak illy of him, his goons, the police force, are going to be right outside my door. So I just need to come out and say that Peter McCormick is the best Bitcoin podcaster that's ever done it, and I think I think he does great work, and I hope he comes back to Bitcoin soon. I don't want to. I'm in Bedford. Like I'm behind enemy lines. Like they will extract me out. I will have to explain to Peter what an X-pub is. Like it's going to be like a tortured prison sentence. So I want to be very careful.
I don't
But if you have
think
anything you want me to
anybody.
share with him, I can go tell him at dinner tonight. Your thoughts and opinions.
I don't think anybody spoke ill of Peter. I think you're misunderstanding what was said.
Also, Erin, you've been a guest on that show, no?
No,
Yeah.
no. Casey's been on What Bitcoin Did, but oh no, I was on with Danny.
Oh, I thought you.
I was on
Wow.
with Danny Knowles, not with Peter McCormick. Peter McCormick, like I think was he Swan? I don't know if he was Swan Podcast Industrial Complex or what, but like someone clearly told him that he needed to be anti-ordinals because when he had Casey on, I mean, it's like the most absurd interview. See, I'll talk shit about Peter McCormick now that I know that Rob is behind enemy lines and that they're gonna execute him. Um, yeah, when Casey went on Peter McCormick's show like a couple years ago, it was so crazy. Like I encourage anyone who's interested in this topic of this kind of cultural divide to watch that episode because Casey answers every question with like complete like knowledge, technical efficiency, like just kind of gets to the point and like answers everything honestly. And about an hour in, you can just see Peter McCormick, like he literally says something like, I'm trying to think of anything that I can say against you. Like he's literally like stirring his brain, trying to come up with anything that he can say. And then at the end, after this like very like honest, easy, it's not like Casey's defensive about ordinals. If you ask Casey about ordinals, like he's not into like he doesn't even like trade inscriptions. Like he's not like a shitcoiner at all. Um I think like it's like at the end Peter's like, "Yeah, well, I don't know if I have enough information to make up my mind at the end of this." Like it just seems really clear to me that he had some sort of agenda pushed onto him for some reason and I don't know why or who, but that's kind of my shit talking on Peter. But Peter has done a service in that he's just gotten out of the game. You know what I mean? He like has clearly realized he was out of his depths and that he should just talk about like UK cultural issues instead, which I think is probably a better market for him.
Well, yeah, and in the yeah, again, we don't need to dig up all this history, but I do remember listening to Casey on Citadel Dispatch, which is like a super, of the culture, Matt Odell, podcast. I remember those days. But yeah, okay. So, Bugle, I'm throwing it to you as we wind this time down. What do you expect from the next year? Any parting words about this year? Erin, Casey, Hell Money, appreciate everything you brought to this and like taking it serious. I hope for more cringe. Honestly, I want more cringe next year.
Next year I have no idea what to expect. It all just when the time comes, the brackets, the matchups, the regions, it just comes to you. And I think part of the reason Casey won this year is because the secret to Maxi Madness is don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Just just enjoy the ride on the plug slot popularity contest.
I have no idea what to expect, and I don't even want to think about it. I think we put everything out on the court for this year. I think both of us are just completely tapped out energy wise. Gonna have a nice, relaxing weekend. Enjoy, smell the roses, and listen to some Bitcoin podcasts. I mean, it's just there's a lot of things on the horizon. The next big thing for us is going to be the Las Vegas event that we're excited. We're going to be partnering with PubKey and Rabbit Hole Recap to do an event there. So anybody in the audience, tell all your friends, make sure to show up because I'm sure it's going to be a very popular event and there's limited space to be there. I'm very excited about that. There's going to be a Noster event that'll be a lot of fun. We'll have some awesome musical performances there. I mean, that's all I really could think about is just living in the moment, living life one Bitcoin podcast at a time.
Yeah, speaking of living life one Bitcoin podcast at a time, the Hell Money podcast episode just dropped, and I've pinned it to the top of the space. So if you are someone who did not know who me or Casey were before Maxi Madness, or you had never listened to Hell Money podcast, the episode that we just posted is Casey and I. It's so demoralized. Like we are at like max pain because this was filmed like right after they rejected the ordinals BIP, and so like we're completely defeated in this episode, but I think we get at some interesting, of course we talk about the Epstein files, because that's always relevant to things relating to Bitcoin Core and the BIP process. And yeah, it's a pretty good episode, so if you're trying to keep the Bitcoin podcasting vibes going, go check that out.
I heard Brian Bishop's thinking about reopening the BIP since Casey's victory.
Yeah, I think that was a stipulation from Maxi Madness, was that Luke, if he didn't win, it was going to have or I guess Dathan. Dathan didn't win. I don't even think he made it out of his first bracket. So I think they have to close the BIP 110 PR, and then I think they have to reopen the Ordinals BIP and give it a number.
I was a little disappointed in Gloria's performance. I thought that could have gone better, but yeah, Hell Money Podcast is a fantastic podcast, and if you're a subscriber to it, you get in on what is always a very funny and entertaining members Twitter space. So highly recommend it. Bugle, good luck in Las Vegas. Erin, thank you for bringing it. I expected nothing less out of you. Tommy, thank you for the time you put into the award. It really nailed the vibe, I think. And actually, one more thing, Bugle. The level of production this year was fantastic. I don't know if you've been complimented enough on that, but it really was like an incredible step up. So cheers to you guys. But thanks to everybody. Witters, sorry we didn't get to see you naked. That was a real bummer. Erin, Erin, congratulations on hotness. It's a thing.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks to the Bugle guys for doing this. I feel like this was it's a fun opportunity to bring the whole community together, and I made plenty of friends along the way, so I'm very grateful to that.
The friends you make along the way. That's the truth. Bugle, take us out.
Thank you, guys, for having us on. And Tommy, if you're still listening or around, thank you for that wonderful piece of artwork. You are truly one of the greatest Bitcoin artists of all time.
And if you are still in line to vote for Erin, stay in line.
Thanks, everybody. See you all in Vegas next month. Use code X10 for 10% off. See ya.